Hello everyone, thank you. This is the third time I've spoken at IDE. So I'm really excited to come here every time. I'm always happy to get the call to come over and share a little bit of an update of what I've been doing. And this time what I'm going to do, I was asked to share about my work in Vietnam, but I'm going to take a global approach and show you how we went from Vietnam to over 60 countries around the world. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my adventures in scaling. I'm part of what's called the Youth Innovation Team for the Global Office of Innovation for UNICEF. And a short description of what we do is that we design, we implement, and we scale projects to help youth all around the world to become empowered, to become skilled in entrepreneurial skills, and to launch social ventures. This is something that we do in now 60 countries. We have two major places that we work. First, we use human-centered design to design these programs with our partners and our country offices around the world. And the second thing is we look for programs that are in one or a few countries and we help them scale out across country borders. And this may be a little bit different than what you're thinking of if you have one shop or you want to go to 5 shops, or you have one product, you want to go to 10 products. We're talking about from one country to many. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And when I was preparing this talk, I was thinking, who's going to be in the room today? I see students, I see academics, I see teachers, administrators. There's many different people with many different lives. So how can I have one message to all of you that can help you learn something today, maybe take it on and bring it back with you? So that's what I'm hoping, that you get something out of me that you can add to your classroom, add to your administration, add to your business. And we'll see if I accomplish that goal or not. But first, I'm going to update you on something I talked about in 2017. My first time here at IDE, I talked about Upshift. I talked about the transformative power of taking action. That it really was the application of skills, specifically entrepreneurship skills, that would really lead to life-changing successes and self-determination. We have this group of young people from all kinds of backgrounds that are disadvantaged, marginalized, disabled. But that action, taking those actions, building their own ventures, made life-changing differences. But not only for the young people, for their mentors as well. The mentors also had life-changing experiences because they were able to apply their presence and their listening and their ideas, and they were able to change someone's life. But then there's also the point that for ecosystem builders, like IDE, that taking action and putting the infrastructure in place enables it all to happen. So Upshift was a program that I helped found in Vietnam in 2016. So when I shared this, we were actually just finishing our first major year of implementation. Now that work has continued on, but I moved on, and so did Upshift. Upshift moved from, at that point, 5 or 6 countries to now 22 countries. From refugee camps in Jordan with more than 20,000 participants, to informal and vocational education centers all across Tajikistan, to immigrant youth in Italy, and to entrepreneurial hubs in Vietnam, and all kinds of contexts all around the world. Upshift is operated by dedicated teams of partners from government, educational institutions, youth civic organizations, and young people themselves. And now in 2020, we have 9 more countries that want to join this mission. And you know what's interesting about it? It's not my team that's operating any of these initiatives. We're helping them design it in their own way, adapt it to their own context, make it work for them. Because there's no way one program works in refugee camps in Jordan, and works in Tajikistan, it works in Vietnam, it works in Mexico, works in Brazil. It's not the same program, it's the same essence of a program. So, about that time, the last time I was here in 2018, I shared about the transformational power of youth, potential of youth, sorry. And at that point, I was just joining this initiative called Generation Unlimited, which was a partnership initiative, which is a partnership initiative with UNICEF and a lot of people around the world about working with 1.8 billion young people around the world, the future of our societies, and making sure that they have the skills to make the next big leap, to make the most of their futures. And at that point, the project I was working on didn't even have a name. It was just an idea. The idea that we could build a platform for youth participation, not only to raise their voices, but to have the skills and to build out social enterprises, social impact enterprises that the partnership could invest in. So not only can the youth be involved, be heard, they can actually be the drivers of the future. So in 2018, we piloted in 16 countries around the world, including here in Thailand, which, by the way, produced one of our biggest success stories to date, which is a team that came out of the Department of Justice, juvenile justice system. They were all in prison when they joined our boot camp. And in next month, they're going to launch their own social venture. So in just 1 year, they went from prison to social venture. So it's an amazing story, and I hope some of you can meet them in the future as well. But we had 16 countries in year one. So if what I just described kind of sounds almost like Upshift as well, skills building, entrepreneurship, social ventures, it's because it is. We used a lot of the learning from one program, we applied it into another context with other partners, we built out the infrastructure, and we went as broad as possible in year one. But it wasn't broad enough. So in year two now, we're currently implementing in 40 countries simultaneously. That means part of my work every day is to check up on 40 different countries and seeing how they're doing. Working with them to work through problems, work through challenges, but I'm not really here to talk about the challenges. I'm here to talk about the lessons and how do we adapt to those challenges in real time. So to go back to scale, I want to simplify the definition because scale seems to be a term that we use in the UN that I don't see that you use in entrepreneurship, you don't use in a lot of other places. But scale is really going from one to many, right? In a business, you have one store, you want to have 5 stores, you want to have 10 stores. You can replicate that store, make it exactly the same, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, or you can adapt it. So if you have one store in Thailand, maybe you want to have another store in Vietnam, those won't be the same exact store, they should be different because you need to adapt, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about scale. It's about learning, adapting, and repeating. So going back to the 2 projects I work on, 2017, when I was here, we were just entering the global scale portfolio for UNICEF, which gave us a lot more visibility, gave us a lot of access to partners, gave us a lot of technical support. And you can see that since then, we've actually had a 10 times growth in what we do. So just by getting that access to more people, to more support, we're now in 10 times more countries than we were just 2 years ago. So now back to that lesson. I know it said lessons in the title, but I'm only going to share one lesson about what to do on scale and how to adapt, right? On the way over here, I was listening to some podcasts, and there's one that kind of struck me. It was a story about scaling educational initiatives in the US, in the UK, and other places. But what they're talking about is the challenges that they came up to, and it really struck a chord with me because they're the same challenges I deal with every day, right? When you pilot an initiative, you start out with your best set of circumstances, right? You have your best people in the most ideal conditions that you think are appropriate, but it's small scale. And everyone you ask, hey, would you like to come here? Hey, Brian, you want to come for a talk? Of course, I'm motivated to come over here and do my best. So when you pilot something, you get the best of everyone. And that early success leads you to scale up. But now you don't have everyone that has the same motivation. You have people you don't know. They don't know you. You don't know their lives. So then the dynamics change. And they're not so motivated on your success anymore. So my one lesson really is, it comes back to the people, okay? In the story I just shared you about the educational initiatives, the researchers were saying that when they started with 10 teachers, they chose the best teachers they could find. They called for volunteers in these homes of the parents. Who do you think volunteers to have their kids in a new innovative program? The most motivated parents, right? The parents who don't care are not going to volunteer their time or their child's time for you to come in their home. So when they went for that scale, it just fell apart. And that happens over and over and over again. You have some early success, then you try to grow out your product line, you try to grow out your program, and then it fails. It doesn't follow with you, right? So that's why I say it comes down to the people. If you remember, I talked about scaling in 40 countries at the same time. They all started at the same time. They got the same guidance. They have the same access to the technical people like myself, and they have essentially the same funding as well. But 6 months in, the results are hugely different. Some countries that had the most funding are the farthest behind. Some countries that had no funding are doing the best. Some countries with no prior experience in innovation or youth work are doing amazing, and others who have established programs dropped out. When I look country after country after country, okay, who's doing what? How are they doing? How engaged are they? It comes back to the people. So, if there's one lesson about growing your business, scaling an initiative, being a participant in an initiative, is that it really always comes back down to what you are doing as an individual and how you can help others feel like their role as an individual is important. John, I loved your messaging. That conclusion was fantastic because I agreed with almost everything you said there. It comes down to you as an individual taking action. Just do it, right? So this symposium is called Thinking Big and Acting Small. The programs that I've been working with, those are big thoughts. We are looking at over 1 million young people every single year in our programs. We want to change lives. We want to run a competition in 80 countries simultaneously. Those are big thoughts. But every time I look at it, it comes down to those small actions at the country level, the participants, the youngest participants, 13, 14 years old, all the way to the most experienced professionals. What they do on a day-to-day basis makes a huge difference in terms of what the result is. And I hope that in your life, in your business, in your initiatives, you think big, but you realize that you have to act small on an individual level to make the outcome happen. Thank you.